Hey, Reef Builders, welcome back to another session of Reef Therapy. This one's special because we are live at Reefstock Chattanooga. You can hear the chatter in the background. We are at the Salty Shindig having a little bit of an open mic. Everybody good? Feeling good?
Open mic, good. Open drink,
open drink.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, so I've got Raj with us. Salem is here, and we're going to do a segment because I want to get a bunch of people on here. We're going to call it 10 Minutes With, and we're going to do 10 Minutes with Mark Levinson. Everybody give a round of applause for Mark Levinson.
The Mark Levinson.
The Mark Levinson. All right, Mark.
10 minutes. That's like
You're cutting into my minutes with your long intro.
No, I'm not. I haven't started the timer yet.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Mark, what's your biggest gripe in the reef hobby?
Oh, my gripe is personal, and it's because I was dumb last night, and I wanted to share my story.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
So last night, because you always know, whenever you're about to leave town, do something big with your reef tank.
Of course.
So I thought I'll do a massive water change. And so I went and got the 44-foot hose, and I flopped it down. I grabbed one end, I hooked up to the pump, I put the pump in the sump, I plugged in the wall, and then I heard this funny sound. I'm like, what is that? And I could hear a milk jug bobbing and bouncing off the wall by the front door. And I immediately realized I was filling my foyer with water because I didn't put the hose outside. It's the first time I haven't done this in 15 years. And I'm just like, I see all the water, so what I do is I just grab the hose and I fling the door open and I throw it outside. I don't just turn off the pump because it's already going.
That's too obvious.
Yeah.
So then I shop vac it all up. I mop everything up. I do the big water change. I get it all done. And then all my brittle starfish decide to spawn. And so my nice, beautiful, crystal clear water that I just put in the tank, it's milk. And I'm just waiting for them to stop. And they spend 3 hours just flooding it with spawn. And
they did that out of spite.
They did it because it was like, no, we like the nitrate. We like the phosphate. So anyway, I see the skimmer doing its job. I was like, okay, that's fine. And I'm thinking the worst of it's behind me. And then I go into my bedroom, and the carpet is wet. It went under the wall.
No.
So I spent another hour and a half sucking the water out of my carpets before this trip because I can't just let the closet be soaking wet for 3 days.
How long have you been in this industry? Because that is a rookie.
The dumbest
rookie
mistake
move.
ever. I usually always start by throwing the hose outside and then come deal with the hookup inside. But for some reason, my brain just didn't go there.
In his defense, that's Murphy's Law, man. There was many things that went wrong there. The universe was against him that night.
No. But that's like a cardinal rule. You do not do something to your tank, no matter what it is, before you leave for a trip.
I'm so guilty of this.
I did a huge water change.
Yeah.
Right before I
There's
left.
some sort of magnetism to that, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't resist the urge.
I feel like if somebody else is going to be looking after the tank or feeding the tank or whatever, I feel like it's got to look good.
Yeah.
You don't just leave it?
I don't know. This time I did, but I get so much crap from Salem whenever I got to do water changes on all the tanks.
Yeah, dude.
What are you doing?
You're going to let your DOC creep up, dude? Yeah, no, I'm going to do a water change.
And I'd been planning this water change for a full month with all the procrastination involved. And I was like, no, tonight this happens.
Yeah.
It was a good time for a water change.
Yeah. It's funny because it wasn't anything really, I guess, biological that happened. It was just the water in your house.
Just the flood of my home.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
See, that's
and I've never had a flood in my bedroom ever. So I was just like,
Yeah.
So you waited a month, and then you blew all over the place.
I totally made a big mistake, Raj.
You
The
shouldn't wait.
load went everywhere.
You shouldn't wait. Don't hold it in.
Maybe.
Well, I could
Do it more
have.
frequently. The frequency.
I will never make that mistake again. The pain, the threshold was just so high that I was like, this won't happen twice.
You just
Yeah.
had to get it out.
Yeah. So, all right, that was my negative. Then I had a
Okay.
positive story.
Okay, what's your positive?
I wanted to share that with you as well during my. How am I doing on time?
We are at 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Nice. So my good news is that Caitlin's Reef, that's been running now for 2 years, that has been just plagued with Ostreopsis, a form of dinoflagellate that has been super annoying, it's finally gone.
Nice.
And I'm
Nice.
very happy because that was basically 6 months of hating the tank and just not liking to look at it, kept trying to clean up what I could, but you couldn't just go do water changes or anything to make it better because it just kept returning. And it was this brown mulm that was all over the sand, and it grew on the pumps. I put frags on a frag rack to get them away from the stuff on the sand, and I was just like, I just was not liking the tank. And so I just kept feeding the fish and hoping that the thing would fade away. I did all the things they said to do, except one, and that was to put in copepods. I kept hearing, you got to add copepods. I'm like, yeah, like I just have those. So, so I added the UV. I didn't do water changes. I tried some phytoplankton a few times, and increased flow. I did what I could, understanding what I was supposed to do, and finally I was like, I didn't do the one thing they said to do, add copepods. So I called Reef Nutrition and said, I need 1 million pods, please. And they said, we can't do that. I was
Can't
like,
do a bottle that small?
I wanted the biggest. So anyway, I got my 1 million pods shipped to me. And then when I poured it all in, my tank was too full because it's a large volume. And this tank's only 27 gallons. But the next day I thought, okay, so now it's going to be gone, right? And it was not. And so I had to find out, how long does it take after you add the pods? And they said about 3 weeks or so.
3 weeks?
And so I waited about 3 more weeks, and now it's completely pristine. The lights are on, the sand is white, everything's good, and I'm super happy about that.
So I wonder if there's any negative effect to adding that much bioload. I mean, it seems like a lot, right? But it's the microfauna. It's the little
They're
guys.
tiny.
Yeah.
that's good.
What species did you say that was?
I think they call them apopods or something like that.
Those are great.
I think it's used for breeders mainly.
Okay.
And so I threw in the pods, and then I was chasing that with phytoplankton several days in a row because I wanted the pods to live, and I wanted them to eat the dinos. But I also want to make sure they weren't starving if they weren't eating properly, because I didn't want to put in 1 million pods, kill 1 million pods, and now have a pod problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead, I had a nice clean. It's great. I've gone through. And another thing I did, on the top of that tank, I have a solid top, and it usually grows algae underneath. And I just let the algae get thicker and thicker and thicker until no light could penetrate. It's like, yeah, take that, dinos. And then finally, it's like, all right, I got to clean this thing off. And it was just coming off in sheets. I was making my own nori. I was like, this is amazing.
Nice.
And then the light penetrated, and everything was glowing all pretty. And again, the sand was white. And so now I feel like I do a water change safely in that tank if I can remember where to put the hose.
That's a key. That's a key right there. I think it's interesting that it is always the last thing that you try that works, right, with dinos. But it's interesting that you went through all of the things, and copepods were the answer for you. And that's not always the case. I mean, some people get it with the UV. I've done it with a combination of things, including increasing the temperature of the tank, right? That's one thing that's been tried. But I feel like when you get dinos, it's just throw the kitchen sink at your tank until something works, right?
Yeah.
So
Apopods are awesome. They'll actually live in your tank too, which is great.
Yeah.
A lot of the other strains are just fish food, but yeah, they'll colonize. So that's good. You got those.
So just keep doing the phytoplankton so I don't lose that population. It won't be 1 million anymore, but
We'll have 10,000 or something.
oh, that's a lot of loss.
Carrying capacity was definitely reached with the 1 million.
Yeah,
And 27 gallons.
I know he told me it wasn't 1 million, but
How did you come up with the 1 million?
well, because
Where was the calculation?
it was 5 months of pure frustration. I was like, I'm going to need 1 million to solve this problem.
You
And
called
anything
them up,
less
it's
was
like,
unaccepted.
Send me 1 million copepods.
just
That was me.
for reference, how many bottles did you end up getting, and how many gallons is that tank?
I put 8 bottles in the tank all at once.
8 of
Okay.
their regular bottles?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And
then-
then I say in the 9th, because I think I got 9 bottles, I put 1 in the new tank. And I was like, all right, we'll put some over here too. But I was thinking, I'll put them in a little each day. I was like, no, they all go in today. And the water level just rose. Like, no,
Yeah.
no one told me there was going to be displacement problems here.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you beat it.
Yeah, that's a happy story.
We have 8 minutes. We're at 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So I want to know
Ask me anything.
how you feel about just Reefstock in general as a show.
Well, this is my first time to a Reefstock.
It's your first time.
How is that? How is it your first time? This thing's been going since 2008.
I've never been to one.
Wow.
The one time, here we go, guys. You wanted a beef. The one time I bought a ticket to come to Reefstock, and my friend Jesse too, Jake refunded our money. I was like, nope.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're
really?
like, guess we're not going. And that was
Yes.
that.
So he saw you as competition.
He did not want us in his show.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
So I've waited until now
was that
to
you,
get
or was
in.
it Jesse?
Oh, my
Because I
God.
can totally understand if he didn't want Jesse there.
No, he didn't want me. And he just did Jesse out of spite.
That's even better.
She's like, what did I do? I'm like, you know me.
That's even better. I love it.
Man, ruthless. I like
the
it.
competition
That's
in.
great.
They're on
like
our
it.
podcast now. What have we done?
Yeah, we've let him infiltrate. Actually, no, your time's almost up, so. Anybody have anything for 30 seconds? 30 seconds, ready to go.
Raj has a joke about porn stars.
What was that you said about the sideburns earlier?
Why did we choose to do this at the Salty Shindig
I'm so glad we
Probably
did.
when
not good.
drinks
should
have been
probably-
We
happening?
don't have an HR department.
We should
All
keep
right.
all of this in.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us on your segment of 10 Minutes With. Where can people find you on the internets?
You can find me at millowsreef.com. You can find me on YouTube. And you can find me in the pages of Coral Magazine.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about that.
What was that
it wasn't
last
a beef.
one?
It's kind of a
It's kind of a big deal.
kind of a big deal, but not at the same time. Oh, our time is up.
Look at that.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Next in the hot seat, Thane from Tidal Gardens. Let's go. We have a segment called 10 Minutes With. So we're gonna put 10 minutes on the timer here.
Everybody else gets 15, but Remy said you're only worth 10.
Yeah, 10's good. 10's good.
Timer's on.
I got 10
And Than, do you have a gripe or something you'd like to talk about for 10 minutes?
So this isn't exactly an aquarium-based one, but this is something that you guys could probably appreciate. So when you start to talk to more and more people as a content creator, and you want to be more inclusive of different voices onto your channel, because for years, like the first 10 years of Tidal Gardens, it was really just me. And now that I'm doing more podcasts and stuff like that, now that I'm doing live streams and being a guest on other places and back and forth, there's a lot more faces. And as a result, you're opening yourself up to criticism because of the other person. It's one thing for them, for the crowd in general, to have a beef with me about something that I said. But tangentially now, there could be like these side beefs, these derivative beefs that I don't know about.
Oh, do we know?
Yeah,
And suddenly,
We wouldn't know about any of that.
I got all these like third order problems, third order social problems. That's like, I'm here literally talking about like calcium or something, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm catching strays about world politics and all this other stuff because some guy is loosely somehow got into that nonsense and now it's coming onto my channel.
Than,
Calcium beef steep.
who is your problem child? We want to know now.
Well, I'll just go based on something that happened very recently. One of the things was I had somebody from Canada on my podcast, and I guess there's like people that had Canadian beef with this person. And
Canadians have beef?
That must be pretty intense.
and they
if a
ended
Canadian is
their
mad.
comment with, "You lost a Canadian fan."
Oh, no.
So that was an interesting one.
We have a similar story on the recent podcast that we did with Patrick from Ecotech. Somebody had said, I can't believe you had him on Reef Builders. I don't like this or whatever. I'm not listening again. I'm paraphrasing. And I commented back and I said, well, we're sorry. You know, we know that not everybody's going to vibe with every guest that we have. But since you're here and you said that, you get to suggest the next guest that we have. Who vibes with you? And he was like, I like Salem and Remy. And it like turned it around. So shout out to Kyle.
Thank you,
who
Kyle.
left that comment. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you do kind of open yourself up to that. But at the same time, I think you're Switzerland, right? You're neutral territory. You bring the information, you bring the person, and then whatever happens, happens.
Try to. But at the same time, there's always that risk that somebody could just go off the rails, like legitimately off the rails. And so now I have that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
It's like the next person that I have on that's new to the channel, could they possibly embarrass me in some way?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you just never know. And you would hope that you could just keep it contained to a literal aquarium that's sitting in their living room, but it always spiders out something crazy. Because, you know, there's like some geopolitical stuff going on right now.
Is there?
And a little bit.
Didn't know.
And one person
Puh.
on an ancient video that I did of some guy's tank left this comment because they were using Red Sea products. And they were saying that they were complicit in a genocide.
Okay.
Red Sea is?
Oh, no. That guy
That guy.
is complicit in a genocide for purchasing Red Sea products, and then I'm platforming them because I had them on my channel.
Wow.
You should
Wow.
be canceled, Finn.
Wow.
I think he's
Terrible.
trying. I think an attempt was made publicly.
He's getting far. Yeah.
Well, I will say this from in my radio years, we've interviewed a lot of people, and my co-host and I, got to interview Jared from Subway.
How
No,
was
no
that?
Diddy.
So at the time, it was great. Everybody knew Jared from Subway, right? It was fantastic. It was great content, and we put it out there. And that was one that we promptly had to take down because you're right. You do kind of become you become a part of that when you interview them, and that's something that now that it's out there that you've interviewed this person, now you have to worry about whatever the hell they want to do in the future, right?
You heard
You
it
have to
here
pay
first,
attention to
folks.
that.
Remy said Jared from Subway's great.
I did not say that.
Do you remember McGruff, the crime dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy, the voice actor that voiced McGruff, he's in prison right now because he had lots and lots of weapons, a grenade launcher, lots of automatic weapons, and then a big stash of drugs. Right. So just I don't know why the Jared thing made me think of that, but this, like, if you were old enough to know McGruff the crime dog, he was pretty much against crime. And so to
Apparently not.
have that guy in jail for as intensive a crime is...
Imagine that.
Imagine that, right? Like,
Imagine
he was
that.
stashed
His
a
enemies
grenade
close.
launcher in his closet.
This was an episode of Dexter in real life. Yeah, he knew.
He knew.
Well, I've been enjoying your podcast, and not to promote competition here, but like it was great. I just I had to do the drive. For those that don't know, my flight got delayed like 5 times on the way here, so I just said, screw it, I'm driving. And I needed some long form content, and I popped on your on that exact episode that you spoke of. I thought it was great. It's so fun to hear your perspective on it, because like you said in the podcast, it was like you're online only, then you've got someone who's kind of a hybrid, and then you've got someone who's just doing local fish store stuff. So I thought that was a great exploration, especially from the hobbyist point of view and from your guys' point of view too. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm also glad that it didn't run you off the road from falling asleep.
No, it was great.
Because our voices are practically ASMR, especially the gentleman from the UK.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like it's too silky smooth and British sounding.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine putting some people to sleep if they're listening to that driving.
I love the pricing conversation that you guys had, because I feel like it was somewhat similar between 3 different countries. So, I mean, you guys all kind of admitted to being a little on the high end, but having beginner stuff that's for everybody and cheap.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just has to do with like the transparency of prices, because people can just look up what stuff is and how much it is in any geography. So I think that really starts to normalize a lot of these figures.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that it does kind of like translate pretty much around the world, including the people collecting the corals, and therefore like the Indonesian collectors are now like jacking up prices of stuff that normally would have been pennies in the 90s.
Yeah.
Are now like, oh no, that's $100 easy now, because we know what that is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Facebook.
Yeah, right.
We know what you're selling it for, Tidal Gardens. We see you.
My biggest takeaway from that whole thing was that you only bring in like 2 or 3 corals like every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that always like shocks people. Like,
Yeah.
Because we sometimes have like some industry guests over, and they're like, oh, if this was at such and such store that I used to work at or still work at, we bring in like 30 boxes a week. And literally downstairs in our quarantine tanks and stuff like that, there's like less than 10
Yeah.
things at any given time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we simply don't bring in a ton.
So do you just keep up with production enough in terms of farming to where you don't have to meet that?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we carry some stuff that cannot be farmed easily, like the trachees, scullies, and stuff like that. But I would say that just about anything else that can be propagated, we do propagate, even the stuff that is really, really, really long extended timelines, like Pectinia and Fimbriophilia and stuff like that, like really long Oleophilia, like maize brains and stuff.
Yeah.
We do all of that stuff.
So I guess my follow-up question is, when you do go shopping, what are you looking for? What do you want to introduce to aquaculture?
So as far as aquaculture goes, funny, like Pectinia would be one of those things that it's kind of like a little pet project collection thing that we just like. We like exotic Pectinias. We are actually somewhat interested in fast-growing, easy to propagate stuff like the Favites and things of that sort. But there's always that risk of this could potentially be a hassle down the road when it grows faster than we can legitimately sell it. Because we want stuff to be able to be propagated, but it has to almost fill a spot in how quickly we can sell it also. Otherwise, it takes up so much space, and we're not the type of place to throw corals away. Like, we will sell coral practically at a loss to avoid that, but we don't want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
We want to kind of like match the production and demand and all that stuff. So it's kind of like a calculated decision, but if it was like on a personal preference thing, it is on the slightly slower growing things like Australophilia and Pectinia. That type of stuff is like my personal sweet spot.
So the main thing you're making, money off of, so to speak, that you have that maximization of, production and also selling is like a Lord or like a Dipsastria, that kind of growth rate, or what's growing fast enough to where it's not a problem, you can still move it.
I would say that the ultimate sweet spot, even though it's slightly slower than we would like, would be something like a Goniopora.
Okay.
Because like Goniopora are like extremely hot and in demand.
Yes.
And we would love to have that stuff grow a little bit more quickly. And I would lose count, maybe like 50 different varieties.
Yeah.
But that is something that we would like to. That's a good marker growth rate, I would say.
That makes sense. Something I always liked about Tidal Gardens was you always had weird soft corals.
Yes, and we were talking about that on this latest podcast because Paul from the UK, he really is all about this resurgence of soft coral. Like, that to him was his favorite looking tank. Under like 6,500 Kelvin, yellow light, they look glorious, the fish look better, like everything. And he thinks that like hobbyists these days are missing out because they're not into soft corals. And completely independently, we have like this 600-gallon Peninsula tank that's like just a mess of like mixed stuff. And I wanted to slowly transition that to a soft coral-dominated tank because like we just simply don't have anything like that. And luckily, we have the space to dedicate to throwing just tons and tons of really cool leathers into that.
Gosh, you're gonna have 4-foot wide sarcophytons.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd love that. And even like nobody's got like a super large colony of like a Kojiwada Nephthia.
Yeah.
Everything is a frag.
Yeah.
I want massive, enormous things of that.
I have a decent size.
Yeah, his is pretty decent.
Decent size.
There's some of the giant Bali Xenia here. I have not seen that in like years. I saw some. I got some red Xenia from you. That's the one Tidal Gardens order I've got.
Nice.
Yeah.
I joke that because if people talk about Xenia being a pest, our new building is like the house that Xenia built. Like for years, Xenia was our top seller.
Yeah.
For years.
Because Xenia is fantastic.
Yeah, Xenia is one of the coolest corals.
Yeah.
We are 2 minutes over our time with Than.
Wow.
However, I have one more question. You always did the cookout, but I think we should upgrade, make it a paid event, and we have a lock-in in the farm.
Ooh.
Ghost hunt?
Like 10, maybe 20 people. We all get cots and air mattresses, and we all just hang out in the coral farm. That sounds really bad now that I'm saying that out loud.
I'll have to take that into consideration.
Remy wants to sleep over.
He does want to sleep over, right?
It's called a lock-in, guys. It's called a lock-in.
He wants to
party
party
at my
at my
place.
Yeah.
This hobby is all dudes.
I wonder if, my last remark, if the guy that hates Canada is also Kyle from our video. What if Kyle's Canadian? What if they're one and the same?
Maybe.
There's just one guy on all the videos.
It's like Kyle Elder. He's in Toronto, right?
Oh my God, it might be. Kyle, if you're Canadian.
Yeah. All right, Dan.
All
Well,
right.
Awesome.
we
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
your time.
Thanks, Dan.
Happy that you come over here and do a little work with us. And we'll see you tomorrow.
We know you don't like
Enjoy
working.
your cooking.
I shall try.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, now at the table, We've got Bradley Cooper with us, so thank you. No, we've got a hobbyist, Brady Truelove,
Right.
who bought a ticket to the Salty Shindig tonight, and you're just hanging out. How was the food?
It was great.
It was great. How the drinks and libations?
Good. This is as far as I've got so far, but it's been good. Yeah.
What was your favorite? Did you have one of these like sugar whip things?
I got something of it. It had some chocolate in it. It was pretty good.
Okay.
All
right.
Chocolate fiend, so I enjoyed that.
All right, so we're putting 10 minutes on the timer with hobbyist Brady Truelove. Ready to go.
Did you hit the carving station?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah?
the brisket was great.
Yeah.
Brisket was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Nice.
You're still not on the mic.
Nice.
No?
Is
You've got-
this
you've gotta
good
lean
enough
up.
for
Yeah,
you?
gotta
That's
lean
better.
up.
Okay. All right. I feel like I'm blocking the guests when I
You're
do this.
fine. It's
All right,
fine.
All right. I'm
True
sure.
love.
I'm sure.
Brady.
Did you ever
Yeah.
use that as like your, the
DJ
bar
name?
line? Oh man, DJ
Yeah.
Trula. That would be a killer DJ name. Did I ever tell you about my? No, I'm not gonna tell you.
It's
I'm
not 10
gonna
minutes
tell you
with
that
it's
story.
not
Sorry,
10 minutes with
sorry,
Raj.
sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, I'm taking up-
no, I never
taking up
did.
your time.
People thought I did because outside of a reef hobbyist, I'm a musician too. So when I meet a girl at a show, she's like, "Oh, you're just trying to." I'm like, "No, that's really my name. It's not a stage name."
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love
that's a lot.
that.
That happens a lot.
What do you
So-
play?
Guitar.
Oh,
Yeah, and mandolin a little bit.
Oh, mandolin. Okay.
Yeah.
He actually brought his guitar. It's back here. You want to get that out?
Maybe later.
Need some solos. Brady, we're kind of doing just random topics, but we always like to start with: Do you have a gripe in the hobby? Something that you don't like?
Like sailing.
I love the
Garage sucks,
hobby,
too.
and I've been into this 18 years now. I think my biggest gripe is not a lot of people can relate to this, but I have to drive so far for my LFS. Living in rural Northwest Georgia, it's almost an hour to my first shop, and after that, it's just even further.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest gripe. Not everybody can relate to that. A lot of stuff I do shipping or this or that, but or just take the weekend off and let's venture into town and see what we can find.
Yeah. So if you do have a local fish store or several local fish stores, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then also I want to know, so you do kind of live out, where there aren't any local fish stores. You said you do a lot of shipping orders. How does that usually work out for you? Do they arrive on time mostly, or no?
I've only had UPS screw me one time.
Okay.
Because I thought, it'd be a great idea because I have 2 tanks, home and at work. Let's have this sent to my work because it don't sit on my front porch all day. It'll come right to me. FedEx showed up at like 8:30 in the morning, way before my store opened. And they're like, it'll be next day. And I'm going, oh, come on.
No,
come
you can't do
on."
that.
Wow.
That's when you're like
so-
tracking down and
Yeah.
trying to find the driver with the package on it.
Yeah. So luckily I had a buddy that was on a route, and I'm like, do you know the driver in this area? He goes, yeah, actually I do. And I'm like, can you do me a favor? And he came through that day,
Nice.
which was
That's
awesome.
nice.
You
That's
see, that's
solid.
that's the double-edged sword of the small town. You know
Yeah.
everyone, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like
exactly.
These metropolitan yahoos don't understand, right? I grew up in Tonganoxie, Kansas. I completely feel your pain. I didn't have an RODI machine. I had to drive 2 hours to get RO water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I
Wow.
completely feel you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're over here. This table is now
Hey,
divided.
look,
you know?
look. If you were in
We're
the
country
city,
boys.
if you're in or anywhere near Atlanta, it would still take you an hour to get to your local fish store.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
But
right.
an
it's
hour on
even
a
more
dirt road,
frustrating.
Raj?
No, it's even worse.
We can't drive
You're
a
in a-
Maserati, we don't have that
I
liberty.
can't either because I took that thing into a wall years ago.
Oh, driving.
Yes. Driving in Atlanta it's insane. Like
Yeah, it really
takes
is.
a special sort of skill. And
yeah.
I don't have the patience for it. I try to avoid driving in the city at all.
Look, I think you're trying to make things seem. You're trying to get a little guilt trip, make yourself feel bad.
Look, I'm
for
trying
our
to make
real
Brady feel
struggle
good,
here.
okay, right?
Listen, True Love
I know
and
the
I.
struggle is real.
Something else that we don't have is a community. There's no one out there. You got the whole Atlanta Reef Club. They're coming to this
You
show.
have the Reef Builders community.
Oh,
right?
the
Huh?
nice spin. All right, okay.
Which is the community that welcomed you in, that said, Brady, come talk to us.
That's true.
Okay, it was the Reef Builders community.
But I will say
You're
that
right,
you
that's
can
right.
you can also tell when people are a little off and they're kind of weird because they never grew up around people. So
Oh, you call
Well,
it
okay,
weird?
so I
Isolated.
did grow up in the city. I'm not too far from Atlanta.
that's why you seemed a little bit more normal. I was,
Right.
but Salem on the other
But
hand.
in the late '90s, I got out of there. So
So what's a positive? What's something that you really love about the hobby, other than like you can't say community, and you can't say
Can't say me.
colorful corals or rock.
Too obvious. It's
okay.
too obvious.
Raj is out.
the what I love about this community is these shows like this. And I'm so stoked that this show is 45 minutes from my home. I don't have to drive to Orlando, not an 8-hour drive, or I don't have to get on a plane and go to the West Coast or New York or something like that. I am so happy, even though I did get a hotel room, that it's right here in my backyard, or it feels like it is anyway. So this is really awesome. I'm so excited that Reef Builders brought Reefstock to Chattanooga. Thank you guys for doing
That's
that,
awesome.
by the way.
Yeah.
So thank you. So, but this, I do have a local club in Atlanta, the Atlanta Reef Club, that I do attend stuff here and there, but I'm not able to all the time. So these shows are my favorite part of it because of the community. Well, I can't say the community, right? The hobbyists and people I meet are just amazing. And I met some guys earlier that are like right down the road from me that I've never met in my 18 years of doing this.
That's awesome.
So it was, it's awesome to be able to come together and do this kind of thing and meet people other than just going to LFS.
Meeting people that have the same interests as you do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look, we have a quirky interest.
We're weird guys.
We like fish and corals.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
meet your everyday person that's going to have that same interest. So
Yeah.
being in that same room with these people that have those same interests, getting that community.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Meeting the people that you've talked to online for a long time, or a lot of these speakers that you're seeing and you hear about, the authors, and getting to meet them in person. It's pretty special.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's cool.
Yeah, there's a couple YouTubers I've been watching for years that I've met today for the first time, and I'm like, wow, it's you in person. This is really awesome to get to meet you.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
And the stuff you can learn. It's amazing how much I learned attending one of these shows.
Yeah.
I mean, you're learning from everybody that has all of these same experiences or similar experiences, and you just need those little nuggets.
Right, yeah, and I love seeing the speakers and that kind of stuff too. Of course, you see those online all the time, but getting to see them in person and hearing what they're saying, I always learn. I mean, 18 years in this hobby, you think, oh, you're a master at this. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I learn something still every single day. Like hearing Ryan talk at Reefapalooza in Orlando this year, he said something that I'm
I've never
like,
heard of it.
oh, no, it's,
What show is that?
But I heard him say something during one of his talks, and I'm just like, it finally clicked. Right? Just hearing it again and again and again, and finally one day it's going to click.
Yeah.
And I started implementing that, and I'm seeing, since April, I'm seeing big changes in my reef right now, as it is at home.
That's fantastic.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what else I can learn this weekend.
There's something so special about talking face to face. Like having comments, having online exchanges, it's not the same type of communication.
Yeah.
Like like just talking to anyone, you learn so much more.
Stop touching the microphone.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
How do you
Get
want
your
me to
hands
set
off
on
the
it?
shaft.
Do you want me to be this close? Where do you want me to be?
I just don't want you to.
We're gonna edit this out.
No, we're not. We're leaving this
We are
in.
totally
All right.
leaving.
You're
all
getting
right.
publicly humiliated.
I'm inept.
Yes.
I'm
Shame.
sorry.
Kids.
Brady, do you know about a place called the Yellow Deli?
I did, and I was going to ask you, because I heard you yesterday. I was listening to the last session of Reef Therapy, and you said you guys supported a cult. And I'm like, you guys went across the river and went
did.
to Yellow Daisy,
We
didn't
sure
you?
Yeah.
as damn did.
Yes,
It
I
was
was going
the
to ask
best
about
tomato
that.
Is
I've
it
ever had.
safe to talk about? Or,
Yes, it's fine.
We
It's
might,
fine.
we might get killed.
They're very open about it. Stop touching the mic.
I'm trying to adjust it.
The
'cause it
story
moved.
goes that, and I will call him out, Ethan from Fish Mania,
Yeah,
which is a
thank-
local fish store
Thank
here.
you,
Yeah.
Ethan.
A local fish store said, if you guys are looking for a place to eat, you got to go to Yellow Deli.
Oh, really?
Those
Okay.
sandwiches are amazing. And we're like, okay, we're not from the area, so let's go. So we went to Yellow Deli before we went to the Tennessee Aquarium.
Yeah.
It was an
Salem.
orgasmic experience.
Salem looks it up. He's like, it looks like Orthodox Jewish. And I was like, well, Jewish delis are amazing. Like,
I thought
that's great
everyone
food.
there just like totally did like a lot of shrooms. It had that kind of vibe to it. I texted my girlfriend. I'm like, babe, I'd love to take you here. It's a really cool vibe. She's like, the cult place? I said,
Oh, she knew?
The what now? The what?
Here we
know,
are
yeah.
thinking that it's a local place. There's only one.
No.
They are all across the world.
They sure are.
They have
Yeah.
farms in South America,
Japan.
Czech Republic, Australia. And so him and I, on our way back from Chattanooga,
5
go down this 12 tribes cult rabbit hole
Wow.
on YouTube. People like YouTubers that have infiltrated the 12 tribes and people that have been in and got out and are talking about it.
Yeah.
So if you do end up in a place where there is a Yellow Deli, just know that none of those workers are being paid.
Oh.
They're working for free.
I like this business model.
I guess you don't have to tip your bill.
You don't have to
Church
tip,
of Reef
yeah.
Builders. What did you say?
Yeah. So, anyways, that is the cliffhanger. So I had to pay that off.
Yeah.
But where are we at on time here? Let me look at my trusty stopwatch
What's your
here.
favorite part of the
We have
hobby?
30 seconds.
What got you in it?
It's such a strange hobby. You think about something in the ocean in your living room or your man cave or some store or whatever business you have. Live coral sitting there. I get so many people all the time that come into my store because I have a reef tank there, the one that I work at, and they're like,
Sweet
"That's real."
plants.
Yeah. It's amazing to be able to have that kind of thing. It's such a unique hobby because we become electricians, we become plumbers, we become chemists, we become a biologist,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff as a hobbyist.
It's a good point.
And you learn so much. It's amazing. It's one of the coolest hobbies outside of my music that I've ever done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Brady, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And
Good
hope
chatting,
we
Brady.
have a fun Reefstock Saturday and Sunday.
It sounds to me like he's got true love for the hobby.
Oh, I do. Certainly do.
You got a future in radio, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for talking, man. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, we welcome Mr. Harley Finberg of PNW Custom to the table.
What's up?
Let's go, Salty
What's up, Harley?
Shindig. Harley, how are you?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic.
I'm doing great.
We're here at the Salty Shindig right before Reefstock Chattanooga starts tomorrow. Harley, we're kind of doing gripes or any kind of topic that you want to talk about, anything you want to plug, anything like that. So we're gonna put
Mainly the gripe.
We're gonna put 10 minutes
I
on the
got a
clock. Okay. It is 10 minutes with Harley Finberg of PNW Custom. Ready, go.
Awesome. So, let's talk about common misconceptions about keeping a small saltwater aquarium.
Oh.
Okay.
From
Okay.
someone who just so happens to sell small aquariums.
The smallest. So,
So is this a list? How many do you have?
I mean, I can make a list.
All right, ready, go.
Go.
So, some of the things, obviously, are small aquariums are impossible to maintain and keep long term. I kind of wanted to break that, common misconception and guidelines and really push the boundaries on what's possible. With that being said, I never intended to be in this position talking to you guys about this. If you guys don't know who I am, what I do, I make the world's smallest actual working reef aquarium. I made it on accident, just for fun, just for myself, and wanted to push the limits because, the smallest aquarium possible. That's, kind of set up, sounding like it's going to be hard to maintain. So when I first set it up, it was just that, very hard and very difficult to maintain. I kind of started learning things along the way of temperature fluctuates really fast in a small aquarium. Salinity, even faster as the temperature is fluctuating. So I started learning some things and kind of implementing them into manufacturing. And now I feel like I can actually say keeping a small desktop saltwater aquarium can be easy.
Okay. I love that you sent Shane Danger Coleman one.
Yep.
That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you know how he's set that up? Like he has it on a chiller through his refrigerator?
So he has a line of refrigerant literally running, or a line that's running through the refrigerant area. So the water is still from the tank and it's just being cooled by the condenser. It's pretty insane, actually.
Yeah. Well, he is.
I mean, that's, going off the deep end, but anything with Shane Danger is off the deep end as it is.
That is very
He
true.
was sculpting a giant trouser snake last
Yeah.
time I
Yeah.
saw on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to miss what Shane is doing on social media. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's totally true.
So what would you say that you found? So you said that you had found some different ways to keep a really small tank from the beginning when you started. So what are some tips and tricks if somebody wanted to get one of your little
Totally.
tanks?
So one of the biggest things that I found is this, temperature and salinity fluctuations were really desolate to those little tanks. Making things like little lids and making it so that they still would provide a little bit of oxygenation exchange through them, but covering tops of the aquarium and actually letting water build up and condensate on the top of the lids and then drip back down into the aquarium.
But doesn't that also retain the heat and
It does.
affect the temperature?
It does. And so with that being said, I had to actually reduce the size pumps that I was using. So, Ooh, enjoy. So, like, for example, we were using a little bit bigger pump. It was around an 80 gallon per hour pump that I was using from a cat water dish. Well, I found an even smaller one, a little teeny 50 gallon per hour USB pump that produced a little bit less heat. Instead of being a 5-watt pump, it was only 3 watts. So we were able to use that, and that helped tremendously bring down the amount of temperature inside of the aquarium.
And
then,
that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 40%, right? That's 40% less power. That's a big deal.
It's a huge difference, and to be honest, we were running the bigger pump almost all the way down and choking it down, but the impeller was still causing the heat because the impeller is still that same size. So once we're reducing it and running it, full blast, it's still warmer or cooler than the larger style pumps. So things like that, using smaller pumps, opening ways for air exchange. So for example, we have a little tiny tank with the sump beneath it, and that has an opening on the sump. So air is still getting in and out of that where it's coming down from the return pipes. So you get the oxygenation, but you don't get too much of the condensation loss and evaporation from that. So controlling evaporation is a huge one. And then temperature, coming back with that, the lids are going to trap in a lot of that heat. Yeah. So most of the time, people don't really need a heater. It's kind of just like an extra accessory, it almost becomes. We do have heaters for them, if you're in Alaska or something where it's really cold. You might need a few extra degrees. So you can totally pop one of those in the sump or in the back of the all-in-one. But for example, we run most of those tanks at home without a heater. We rely on the ambient room, and it stays about 4 to 6 degrees warmer than the room. So if you're keeping your house about 70 degrees, it's pretty much right on that mark where you need to be.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So those are your two keys to failure, I guess, right? That's what makes it difficult to keep?
Yeah, I would say if you can control and maintain salinity and temperature, you can keep a desktop aquarium. Yeah.
See, my difficulty in it was I ran out of space immediately. And that's what I found difficult, is I couldn't add the things that I wanted to add. Because you just can't have one thing. I couldn't just have one thing.
You're not creative, Raj.
I wanted to have all the things.
Wow,
So
shots fired.
Ouch.
In my little 1 gallon, I would say I probably have about 25 different corals in there.
Yeah, look at that.
A polyp each.
No, I mean multiple. And I have definitely started from a polyp, actually. And I have a video showing from the single polyp all the way to the 30 or so polyps that it's grown into.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is kind of fun to watch. And you really see every growth happen right before your eyes. Whereas in a big tank, you'll kind of get that lost beneath everything else that's going on. Whereas in that small environment, you can watch each polyp grow and develop. You can see the size of those lashes really start growing and the colors start coming out, which is really cool. That being said, I wouldn't put like torch colony in there. I'd lose a lot of room really quickly. So you have to choose your species for sure. And yeah, you can run out of space quickly, but at the same time, you can also build a thriving and really filled out tank very quickly and get to enjoy that. And just kind of maintain,
Maybe I need to embrace the tiny tank, because my tank build is going so well, and I've progressed so far that I actually brought my sump to Reefstock.
Did you see this, Salem?
Did you see?
He brought his
I
sump.
brought my sump.
It's so available that he was able to bring it to Reefstock.
He's selling it, is what I'm hearing.
No,
He's
definitely
selling
not.
the tank.
I am definitely not selling mine.
He did not set up his tank. He's selling it.
But I get questions like, does this even exist? Are you really doing
I get
this
questions
thing?
like, how much
So
is
it
my
here,
sump cost?
right? It is here. I freaking made it.
All right, you
It
should
is in
listen.
progress,
Harley
but it hasn't been plugged
All right,
in,
guys,
so
I will
brought
turn your
it.
mics off. This is 10 minutes with Harley.
I have a gripe.
He has a gripe
I'm griping now.
Harley sent me a Smallman one, and I think it's the coolest thing to highlight weird stuff.
How many gallons is that? One?
One
One
gallon.
gallon.
I
Okay.
put Peterson anemone shrimp in it. No one keeps those. I have 6 in there. You can see them fighting over anemones. Like I saw like Ben from BSA, he had like a hellfire nem in there. Just one. I think it's such a cool thing to keep that one weird thing that no one can. And it's such an intimate space that you can finally do that in the hobby.
Now you understand how your parents feel about you.
I've reflected on that a lot.
Harley, I think before we let you go, the one thing that I really admire about you is your creativity and the fact that you have invented really so many things, right? It doesn't have to be in the hobby, but what's the thing that you're most proud of creating?
I mean, it would probably still would be the micro tank. Like I was talking about, I never intended to sell it. I just wanted to really corner my abilities to make something and like really define my craft. And I think because of that, like it made so many people see how cool this little thing was, and like it just allowed me to really be proud of watching something grow from a very tiny idea that I had putting inside of my kitchen counter to literally going in thousands of people's homes now.
Yeah.
And
Around the world.
around the world. I've
Around
helped,
the world.
I've helped literally tons of people get into the saltwater aquarium hobby, and I every day get messages like, I'm so excited to go get a new coral. This is a really fun journey. And it's like, I never intended to add my experience into so many people's lives, and for so many people to embrace it and actually take it with them. It definitely brings me joy and excitement, and really brings me more into the interest of this hobby and,
Yeah.
what I love to do every day.
Yeah.
The coolest thing I remember when I first met you at Reefstock Denver, you told me your story how you started in a garage during COVID. You're like, you were messing around, and now you're here. You're at every show. And I was like, oh my God, this is the American dream. It was like a Steve Jobs, like Mark Zuckerberg story, from like the garage to going across the nation and now across the world. And that was like the coolest thing, that you were able to make what you enjoyed, like, your livelihood. That's cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's definitely exciting to be able to, make something you love, your passion, and what you do every single day.
Support small business, specifically P&W Customs.
Support
Find us
micro
everywhere.
business.
Yes.
Micro aquariums, micro business.
Harley, it was awesome chatting.
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Of course.
for
Thank you
coming
guys so
on.
much
Yeah.
for having me.
Something tells me every rack at the Reef Builder studio pretty soon might be made by something that rhymes with Schmeeman W Customs.
Did you say Schmeeman?
You're schmeemed already.
Thank you,
and
Harley.
W.
We appreciate you, Harley.
W.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Joining us at the table now.
Oh, by the way, this is off of your card as well.
God damn it. All right.
Joining us at the table now. Joining us at the table now. This is all staying in, by the way. I'm not editing this. Mr. Jack, how are you?
Doing good.
How'd you feel about being Salem's drink runner right there? That was a bold move.
I mean, I kind of expected it.
You
I
have
mean,
to take that. Like when somebody pulls something like that, right? You just have to.
respect him.
You do. You have to respect it. Take the L. Be like, wow,
No.
I am the drink bitch right now.
He owed me. We have a tally on my notes on my new iPhone, actually.
Oh.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah, you know how many times I got you energy drinks and Golden, man?
Oh yeah.
And like how many times I got you breakfast burritos, man?
Oh, he did
Damn,
give me
see?
some. He did give me some
Jack
Santiago's
thought you
for
guys
sure.
were broing it out.
We were
and you were
broing it out.
keeping a tally. That is dirty.
All right.
That is dirty.
We have broken even.
All right, so Jack, do you have a drink?
Well, then I bought this drink on his card.
Yeah,
so
I know.
don't
For
So now
those,
he owes
for
me
those
again.
that don't know who Jack is, Jack has been living at the studio for about a year now?
A year and a half.
Year and a half. So you have been up close and personal with all of what Jake has grown over the years. Do you have a personal favorite in the studio, or maybe one that's like
I mean,
a little more finicky than you would like?
So, I mean, grafted Heroinensis is definitely my favorite coral of all time at the studio. I've never seen another one probably I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but they're not coming in. So, I mean, it's just a really cool and unique coral that I love. I was just telling somebody else that that's my favorite coral in the studio. So,
What's the
that's
most finicky?
the most finicky coral in the studio. So, like, when you say finicky, like the ones that like is gonna die the quickest, or the one that's like gonna like what lose color the fastest?
Just
I don't know.
One that's like nice or whatever, or something that Jake has collected that you.
I would say like Fox Flame. I would say that's my canary. Like, it's not gonna die, but it's gonna turn brown pretty quick if something's wrong. I mean, they're pretty resilient, but like if I want to look at a tank and know it's doing good, I like to have a Fox Flame in there, because like if it has its yellow tips and it's growing good, then your traces are somewhat on point.
Shout out Jason Fox.
In my experience. So, but yeah, it's an awesome coral.
What's the coral in the studio that you're afraid of? Right, like the one that you don't want to lose.
The metalhead chalice.
Yeah.
If I lose the metalhead chalice, and I was just talking to him about the metalhead chalice too. He actually brought it up. The previous gentleman that you were interviewing.
True love.
But yeah, yeah, like that's a really cool coral, and we only have really one. So like whenever somebody comes to the studio and they show interest in it, and like I know they're a good reefer, I'm like, hey, bro, let me break you off a piece. Here you go. You know, grow the shit out. We need as many people to have it as
Salem,
possible.
add that to his tally.
He's just giving out. Wait a second, you're giving out coral?
I took a frag. Don't worry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
took one for me.
Like, especially if you come volunteer at the studio, like, definitely, if you want a frag of it, you can get it. That's probably one of the only ways you can get it at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Reefer's Code, right?
Yeah,
Reefer's
come,
Code.
come work for us.
yeah.
For frags.
For frags, not
frags.
pay the church
So, yeah, I've
recovers.
given that to a number of volunteers, and it's done really good in
Nice.
a number of volunteers' tanks. I have it in a couple maintenance accounts, even just kind of, trying to keep it, around as best I can. But there's only one in the studio. I've even tried moving it into other tanks, and the little frags I move in there just do not do good at all. It's like a Hollywood Stunner chalice, it will just kind of like die overnight for no reason, really. It just kind of like peel off, or it'll do amazing and grow super duper fast. So yeah.
So, Jack, you've been in the industry for a while. Me and you had a rich history as rivals at one point, even on the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
You've done retail, you've done kind of you're dabbling in the wholesale now, potentially, and you've had this industry experience. What's your biggest gripe from all of it?
I would say ignorance. People getting into this hobby and being ignorant to everything, thinking they can like reinvent the wheel, ignore their alkalinity, and rely on a fish store to tell them what's going on in their tank, and just like stuff like that. I feel like if you're gonna get into this hobby, you need to like take a deep dive, really research everything, and like, do a good job. Because people come into shops every day. They're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my tank, man. Like, I have no idea, bro. And I'm like, I test two things, salinity and alkalinity. 90% of the time, it's one of those two things that is completely nuking everyone's tank. Like, you pay attention to those two things, and that would save literally thousands of corals a year if, like, all hobbyists did it.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Yeah, I think I was talking to. I was on the Chattanooga News today.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Got some autographs to give you guys and headshots. So. But I'm not wearing clothes. Just Daisy Dukes. But we were talking about how, we would love for beginners to come to shows like this because the big box stores just allow that ignorance to perpetuate. They
Yes.
just sell the things, and a lot of times, and I don't want to blanket the entire like aquatic staff. Salem worked at Petco, so
It kicked ass.
I kicked ass
but
and took names
but
at
you
Petco.
getting the right information when you start
Yeah.
is so key.
Yeah, like that's what they should be giving out pamphlets on at Petco is alkalinity.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the saltwater section, that's what we should be giving you a pamphlet on is like how it works. It's like it's basically controls like the ability of the corals in our case to take up elements and actually use them, and how efficiently I don't really even understand it fully, but I know where my alkalinity needs to be, and I keep it there at all times. So yeah.
They got all those cards for leopard geckos and things, so why not
Leopard
have
gecko cards that even have the right UV range.
it? Okay, all right.
I
I was trying to give the big box stores a little bit of credit.
Petco's got good pricing on crickets sometimes. All right,
No.
that's their saving grace. If you buy bulk, there's a secret. It's like the secret menu of Petco. You can buy crickets in bulk.
Dubia.com.
All right. More market.
boy.
All right. Yeah.
boy.
Here,
So does Petco have
we got it all, man.
does Petco have information on
Hang on,
cat and
guys.
dogs, like
Shh,
accurate?
real quick.
Windsor.
That's Reef. Guys, that is
Man down.
Jake and Windsor's progeny right there
That is, he's not
at
happy
the Salty
about us
Shindig.
talking about Petco.
Yeah, all right, sorry. I didn't mean to. You can re-ask the question if you need to.
Very upset.
We do
about
not carry cats and dogs. We sometimes partner with the local humane society to carry cats.
But you have cat and dog supplies.
Yes, we do.
Right. So is there any sort of education on those pets? Or?
There is a dog trainer at all Petco locations above a certain income threshold. We also partner with Hill Science Diet, who has bought us out, and they tell us what to do.
Yep. Hill Science Diet
It's
is a
produced in
scam.
Topeka, Kansas.
All right.
For sure.
Jack,
$110 a bag.
Hill's the mafia.
Yeah, jeez. You're right. Jack, is there anything else you want to talk about before we let you go?
No.
How you feeling about
What-
Reefstock?
What's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food?
Oh, food. That's a good one.
Dungeness crab.
Okay.
Hands
Really?
down, Dungeness crab.
Really?
Yep.
Legs down.
How you feel about Reefstock?
I'm digging it so far. You know, it's
You had a chance to.
Chattanooga's interesting. It's like the furthest place out east that actually has hills that I've ever seen so far.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't. I know there's
a
mountains
small
out
chain
here
of
somewhere.
mountains out
I
here.
know, but I've never been to them.
The Smokies or something?
Jack,
They
if,
go all the way up to the northeast.
if you're open to it,
It's hikeable.
if you're open to it, we can go inside the caves in the mountain.
The Cave Bacon is
Oh,
calling
yeah.
your name.
Yeah, Ruby
Okay.
Falls, man. We can go inside.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Nice.
He did it for her. Ruby.
He did do it for her.
He did it for Ruby.
He found the cave for Ruby. Ruby would his wife would hang out in the caves and read.
She would read with no light, apparently, in the 1800s.
You don't need
Nice,
light.
very
Anyways.
nice.
That is your history lesson on Ruby
Ruby Falls, Chattanooga. Come see reefstock/show.chattanooga.
All right, thanks, Jack. We
ICP
appreciate
analysis,
you.
What's in your water?
We love you. All right, at the table now, a couple of our speakers here at Reefstock Chattanooga, Todd and Finn Gardner. How are you guys doing?
What's up, guys?
Awesome. It's a great event and a beautiful city.
Yeah,
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to be here.
that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming. I am excited to see your talk, your dual talk on it's Sunday, right? Or is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
4 o'clock,
Okay.
yeah.
I was it was a 50-50 shot and I missed. So well,
job.
Todd, tell us what you do for Biota and a little bit of a background on who you are.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a lifelong aquarium hobbyist and fish breeder, and I teach at a community college in North Carolina, Carteret Community College, and Biota rents out some space from our aquaculture lab and has hired me and a handful of my students to use that space to produce some of their livestock for them.
Okay. And what species do you guys work with there? Or
So
can
we
you say?
do all of our grommas. We do so it's royal grommas and the Cuban basslets, and starting to get black cap basslets into production. It's one of our most exciting things that we've tackled so far.
That's awesome.
Peppermint shrimp, Finn and I actually collected the initial brood stock to start our peppermint shrimp project there. It's one of our best sellers. Probably sell more peppermint shrimp than anything else.
Atlantic, right?
What's that?
Atlantic.
Yeah,
peppermints.
we get them. We get them. We collected all the brood stock on a little boat ramp right in our town. At night, we go down there with lights after all the crazy fishermen are gone, and we go down with lights and dip nets and scoop up peppermint shrimp. And what else do we do? And what else do we do from our North Carolina biota?
Well, we raise pipefish.
We do pipefish once in a while, opportunistically. When pipefish are available, pregnant pipefish will raise a handful of some of our local pipefish species. What else?
Flathead perch.
Flathead perch. One of the. So that's a really cool fish. Very, very closely related to the Liopropoma. They're really awesome reef basslets, cave bass they call them. And it's the only member of its species, Rainfordia. And we have the brood stock at our little fish room at our house that we'll show you tomorrow. And what else do we got? We do.
I think the golden basslet is one of my favorite fish of all time.
You mean the
assessor.
Liopropoma golden basslet or the Cuban golden basslet?
Well, the Cubans are very pretty.
Yeah.
I guess this. I don't know the scientific name, but just the golden assessor.
Oh, the
basslet.
golden assessor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cool one too.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's
yeah.
another one called the golden basslet. It's Liopropoma. I think it's Liopropoma aberrans, and that's one of the really deep cave bass from the Atlantic and Caribbean, and that's one of my holy grail fish to get a hold of and breed someday.
Very
That
cool.
whole genus is so beautiful to me.
Oh
I'd
my
like to
gosh,
get all of them again. Like, and there's the one video of Jake unboxing the 3 Liopropras. We've still got the candy that's about full grown now. That's still in the studio.
Wow.
So I think it'd be so cool to have all of those in like a larger system together, kind of immediately like a deep water. Like where do they actually come from? Where are they collected? What does their environment look like?
So we've actually seen on one of the wrecks Finn and I dive on, we were lucky enough to see Liopropoma ukrainis, the ras bass, one time.
Yeah.
And when you see one, I mean, they're all so beautiful, but when you see them, you realize why they're so expensive. It's not that they're, and just like with the flathead perch. They're not terribly rare, and a lot of them aren't even as deep as you think. They're just impossible to catch. They're in the deep reef. You see one, and it's 20 feet away from you, but it's in a crevice that's getting narrower and narrower and narrower. Even if you were going to use some kind of chemical to stun it, you can't even reach it. And they're elusive little guys. I don't know the guys that catch them. I don't know how they do it.
Just like luck alone or bait or something?
I don't know. I know there's some behavioral differences. Forrest Young once told me that between the candy bass and the Swiss guard bass, one of them is hovering above rubble piles and the other one is back in caves. And I forget which is which because I've never seen those in the wild. But even picture a fish, 2 inches or 1 inch long, hovering above a rubble pile, and when you get close, they just sink down into the endless network of caves that's going to be in a pile of rubble. You don't have a chance.
Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome.
I know that, and Finn, you're a diver, right? You're a legit, how old are you?
I'm 12.
I'm 12. I'm a diver. That's
Yeah.
something not a lot of 12-year-olds can say.
Which dive certs do you have?
I have a Hattie open water dive certification, I think.
Yes.
And I'm also Nitrox certified.
Nitrox is where it's at.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
what is the most annoying thing about your father? Like, what annoys you? What grinds your gears? We're dealing with gripes today, so you have your chance to vent a gripe, and he can't do anything about it.
Until you get back to the hotel room, and then he can.
When we're diving and he sees a cool fish or something, and instead of going and looking around, he just decides to circle around that fish.
And forget about you.
Yeah, so he's,
No,
he's
you don't.
not a good dive
You don't
buddy,
forget
is he?
about me. You just make that. No, not your second priority.
My first priority is keeping you safe, obviously.
Obviously.
And then your second priority is the fish.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that I take some of the fun out of the dive when I see something that's important to me.
Why didn't you start a therapy session?
This is reef therapy.
It's reef therapy.
Right?
I guess so, yeah.
It's fish therapy now.
If you are feeling unsafe, just say the safe word pineapple. Okay? Pineapple.
What's the coolest thing you've seen on a dive? What's that moment that you're like, man, that was awesome?
I mean, I really liked our dives at the Carib Sea where we were just surrounded by sand tiger sharks.
Not scary at all?
We'll have some footage of that to show tomorrow.
Nice.
It's one of the most awesome sights I've ever seen, too, is just you're in a sea of sharks, and it's every direction you look, it's sharks as far as you can see.
Wow.
You guys done Megalodon ledge yet?
Not yet. It's on our list.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to get there. It's a very long ride. And it's also pushing the limits of depth safety for us. It's about 110 feet. If the conditions aren't really extra, exceptionally good, a 3 or 4 hour boat ride is really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is a brutal boat ride out to the I puked my brains out getting there because the water was so choppy. And this was before I started taking any sort of Dramamine on any dive trip. And that was the one where I was like, nope, I'm going to start taking this. And I never had an issue before. But go to Megalodon Ledge was the one that put me over the top. I mean,
So you've been there. That's
been there.
really cool.
I've done, and it is fantastic.
What'd you see?
There's a shipwreck on the way to it. That is phenomenal. That was a really, really fun dive.
Do you remember what the name of that wreck was?
I don't, but I remember there was a lot of sharks down there, and they were just circling it. It was the coolest thing ever.
It's magical.
It's
magical.
phenomenal. So the dive master was like, okay, don't go into the wreck, and obviously I go into the wreck because
You want the
He
dishes.
wants to go inside the rack.
you have
Technically, I'm not supposed
you
to.
have to do it. Right? But it scares me because the whole time I'm thinking something is going to get stuck and I'm going to freak out and I'm not going to be able to get out and I don't want to drown. But I can't resist. It was really, really cool dive. But yeah, Megalodon ledge, awesome.
And like you said, it can be a brutal ride.
It was a
right?
brutal ride.
We went on a small boat only about a week ago.
Oh.
We went to a wreck that's about 30 miles offshore.
Yeah.
And
We were in like a fishing boat.
a small fishing boat, but
Like-
for diving. And we had a 2.5 hour ride out, and the conditions, the forecast was for pretty flat seas, and it did not turn out that way. And what was the worst part of that trip, would you say?
There were so many to choose from, but like, I don't know. There was the ride out there that was bumpy, and it's North Carolina, so it's super hot outside, and I did get a lot of sunburn after that. And I also just like wasn't feeling good at all,
And
I was like, we had gone surfing the night before, so I was really chafed. And it was just and we didn't even end up diving. We just
we couldn't. We spent
It was-
the entire day getting there and back, and we couldn't dive when we got there because it was too rough. It wasn't safe to get in and out of the boat in these very high seas. And I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but I think we both had the same problem. In a small boat, right? The number one or one of the big risk factors for decompression sickness is dehydration. So it's really important to stay hydrated, drink a lot of water, which of course, and you're getting splashed constantly, you have to pee a lot. And it's a little boat, there's no bathroom. Just pee off the side, but you're going fast in high. You can't. You just can't pee off a boat like that.
Just lay on
in
your
those
back and-
conditions. So,
And then there's stage fright.
and then there's that. But
Yeah.
but even that aside, like anyway, it's very uncomfortable.
To hydrate, I chose red Powerade. It's not the correct.
Because you love Red 40? Is that why?
This is-
Carcinogens?
That-
Yeah, all right.
The white boat floor.
Oh, the poor boat. It was covered in red. Covered in red.
Well, Todd, so go for it.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Let's go. Keep
Okay.
going. It's all right. It's okay.
I was going to wrap it up, but if you'd like to ask another question.
No, by all means.
Okay.
It seems right.
Todd
Talk
and
about
Finn,
puking anymore.
thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to your talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Can
Yeah.
you tease us a little bit with what you're talking about?
about what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So
Lots of dives and lots of fish.
I made a title that probably sounds boring. I think I called it "Paths to a Sustainable Hobby," which is really just an excuse to talk about two important things in our life, and one is the fish that we produce and that the rest of the biota family produces. Because what's more sustainable than buying captive bred marine life for your tank?
Yeah.
And also maybe talk about our program a little bit, where we train people to do aquaculture of all kinds, but also as an excuse to talk about how we live our life and how we catch fish, both to eat and for our tanks, and how we nurture our own sense of awe of nature in general and marine life
Yeah.
specifically through the way that we live.
Well,
So much of that. That's a great
awesome.
tie.
I think it's really cool that you are doing sustainable invertebrates. You're doing peppermint shrimp. That was the coolest thing that you said today. I was like, that's awesome.
A Bergia.
Bergia as well.
Nudibranchs too. I forgot to throw that one.
Oh yeah, that's
If
the big
Sanjay
one.
is looking for some, he'll be here in an hour or so, an hour and a half.
You might have got Sanjay.
He's probably flying American, so you know.
yeah,
you go.
United Spirit.
He's going to end up in Albuquerque.
Frontier.
Not sponsored. Not sponsored. Todd and Finn, thank you guys so much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
joining
guys
us.
very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
We'd like to welcome to the table Mr. Steve Nair, owner of Reef Chasers.
What's up, Steve?
Happy to be here.
And you're nearby. You're in
Yes.
what was the town called?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
About 40 minutes from here.
Okay.
So you're in Georgia.
No, it's just north of Georgia.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So it crosses it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we visited
There's a
Steve.
Cleveland, Georgia, too.
There might be,
Doesn't even know his own backyard.
There's a Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know. They got them all over the place.
God bless Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio is the one. Everyone I say I'm from Cleveland, they're like, oh, Ohio.
Yeah.
No. No.
Oh, Than. You know him? Okay.
Yeah. They know Chattanooga, though, most people.
Yeah.
So.
So we visited your shop on our little trip to Chattanooga.
Yes, you did.
So tell us about how long you've been in that shop. Tell us a little bit about your business before we get into the new tech that you're launching at Reefstock Chattanooga exclusively.
We opened about, I would say 3 years ago, but, it was like the first tank, just getting water in it. So it was about 12 months or so of building and putting tanks online and stuff before we were really open. So I would say we've only really been operating about 2 years.
That's
Okay.
a long build.
Yeah, well, we kept adding. We were like, let's more.
Yeah,
let's
and
more.
if you
clean.
if you watch the video, his store does just keep going.
Yeah, we have a lot of tanks. I say we're 10,000 gallons. We're not quite there. We want to be. We're growing towards that. We're probably about 7,500 gallons in the whole facility. So, but we're trying to get keep it growing and keep culturing corals.
One of the things that I really liked about your shop was you had this whole 3D printer set up in the back, and you're doing some pretty cool things, some designs that you had made. Do you want to talk about your plugs?
We come up with just a frag plug we were using for our own culturing purposes in our facility. It's basically just an expandable, reusable plug that you can swap the heads off of. So you can expand them out as they grow, like small, put it on a small mount first, then you can step it up to a larger mount or a triple mount. We even have like some mounts that have like a garden, like tons of them. And they're really good for soft corals, especially like zoas and stuff, because you can put one in the middle and just let it grow out. And then when you need a frag plug, you just twist it off and you put a new one on and they'll grow back over it. So it kind of makes it easy. It's not as advantageous for like monopora and SPS,
Yeah.
Because they'll have foliant crush. You'll still have to use a saw or something. But they still have advantages though. Like sometimes when I'm walking through the facility and I just want to not glue and cut and all this, I don't have time for it. It's a mess, but I can just expand a coral that I see that's overgrowing a little bit, just step it up on a new disc. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a really cool idea, and at first it really wasn't working right. I had to make a lot of changes. Like my first idea was okay, but it got better over time, and I really had to work through it to make it work right. Because there's a lot of issues with using plastic for plugs, and I think people know that already. Like you can't cut through them if it's very thick, and so I basically solved all those problems by making it come apart. And all these parts are very thin. You can actually take scissors and cut right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. That's one feature about those that I noticed, and I was going to ask about the cutting.
Yes.
But it's super thin.
Yes, and I made them that way on purpose. The first version wasn't. I learned, The
Yeah.
first version was a little thicker, and I had to make the mechanism that locks it thinner. I had
Yeah.
to redesign it over and over just to shrink that space down, make it as thin as possible. And now it works very, very well. We love them, and we are 3D printing them, but
What kind of plastic do you use?
It's PET G, which
Okay.
is reef safe plastic, and of course 100% infill, which makes them heavy,
Yep.
so they sink, they don't float. They're not as heavy as a ceramic, though. That is an issue with plastic as well versus ceramic. Ceramic is very weighted and very heavy, which is good. You don't want things moving around. But I've also design things to weigh these down. Make the stem a little longer, a little fatter. So
Yeah.
And I
they're
noticed
weighty.
They're textured on top too, so
Yeah, so
That
it's really
helps.
good surface for the coral to grow on. Glue loves plastic, so binding the coral to the mount is very simple, very easy.
Yeah, when we saw those like about a month ago, I was geeking. Because
Yeah.
I predominantly farm high-end zoas, and I was
Zoas,
like,
yes.
oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm so tired of busting out the saw to cut the stem and get another thing to glue out and
Exactly.
waste all my time.
And zoas grow quick sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on what zoa it is, it can grow really fast. And that's where this idea was born out of, because our facility, we don't have a lot of employees. It's mostly me managing and propagating the corals. And then I have some help from my wife who's also very good at it. But it's just, it's a smaller team. So I don't have a lot of time to be sawing and gluing every day. So I wanted to make something that would make it a little easier on us to just expand them out as they grow. And then we can saw them when we get the time. And then other things just born out of this. And the mechanism is great. Like the customer doesn't have to cut the stem when they get it home. The customer can even give you the stem back, or maybe they don't want the stem. You can keep the stem.
That's a great idea.
You reuse the stems in your facility so you don't lose them unless you sell them to a customer.
Yeah.
And something else is, like a lot of the ceramic plugs leach like vanadium and weird trace elements. You
Yeah.
don't have any of those issues with that either.
You wouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah.
I know a lot of some of my buddies that have huge farms, they have problems with high vanadium in their ICP because they're just using so many plugs.
Yeah, I can see that when you cut it, the dust, if you don't rinse good and things. But
Exactly.
I would still recommend anyone who takes this to a saw would rinse it, though.
Yeah.
A saw creates dust, even plastic dust. You don't want that in your aquarium either. So I would put that on the website, too. If you cut ceramic or plastic, you should rinse the plugs before you return them to your aquarium.
Microplastics are a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also, you don't have that problem if you use scissors, which is why I also kind of designed it around that way I did. Especially because I think people at home who frag at home, they don't have saws or wet saws, band saws. So having it cuttable with scissors is a benefit for them and for us. So.
Do you see yourself going different shapes at all, like maybe square instead of circular?
Yeah, I do have in our facility, not on our website yet, but on our facility we have some square mounts. So I'm toying with that still, if I love it or not. It's kind of weird, like when you twist them, they don't line up always right where you want them to with the square one, and so I'm still playing with that design. One cool thing we do have, but I'm not ready for market yet. But these mounts could go on a expandable branching tree system that can interlock. It can come off a frag rack and branch out, and these heads will just connect onto those pieces.
That's cool.
So if you wanted like that in your frag tank, and we use them for acropora and other things too. It works really well. But again, we're trying to go one step at a time. We don't want to overextend ourselves, so we're focused on this right now, and then maybe that down the line.
Sure.
So.
Well, we really liked your shop when we were there. Really meticulous on the wiring in the back, which was awesome.
You geeked out over that system. You like that.
It's so good. It's so good. Steve, I want to thank you for coming out. Obviously, the show has just begun, but hopefully you get the word out about your new plugs.
I appreciate you guys having us here, and this is our first big show. We're excited to be here. Glad when we found out you guys were coming to Chattanooga, we were kind of geeked out about that, because just gives us an opportunity to come to a big show, and we're excited for it. So
if people want to buy your plugs, where can they get them?
CoralFragTech.com. So ReefChasers.com will also sell them, but Coral Frag Tech, that's the company that's going to be selling them. And we just don't want it necessarily too connected with Reef Chasers, to be honest with you. We think the plugs can be used by the whole industry, and we don't want any issues between vendors thinking this or that. So Coral Frag Tech it's going to be its own thing, its own entity. And Reef Chasers is focused on corals, primarily. So.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Well, Steve, thank you for joining us. Have a good show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You guys have a good one.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, at the table at the Salty Shindig right now, we are joined by Steves.
The Steves.
The Steves.
Steve Square.
Steves, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Steve Harder. I work for the Georgia Aquarium.
Steve Cooper. I used to work at Georgia Aquarium. Now I run my own company, Aquatic Life Designs.
Very good, very good.
We passionately know them in Georgia as the Steves.
The Steves?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been to the Georgia Aquarium.
You're missing out.
Wow. You're a loser.
Clearly.
But I've seen Rich Ross fall into the whale shark tank.
You saw it in first.
I was Rich's host, and I had to pull him out of the aquarium. And then he took the walk of shame back to our locker room so he could shower shortly after that.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then we had people running down to my office and going, "Hey, pull up the cameras from 2:00."
Yeah. It became a good YouTube video, that's for sure.
It was pretty legendary.
We're talking about kind of gripes that you might have with the hobby or with keeping coral and fish and things like that. So anything that sticks out in your mind right off the bat?
For gripes?
Yeah.
Gripes.
I think in general, my major gripe is that people overcomplicate things. It's just people add extra equipment and things that are unnecessary to keep coral successfully. So, especially right off the bat, you don't need that $2,000 Apex control system with a automatic calcium testing system on it. And I just think in general, people are overcomplicating things. 20 years ago, we didn't use any of this equipment, and we kept corals just fine.
Okay.
So
As long as you have an MRC calcium reactor.
You don't need that $2,000 MRC equipment.
yeah, we won't take any business away from Raj here, but
What are your honest reviews of MRC at the Georgia Aquarium?
no, we use a lot of MRC equipment, and
there you go.
Raj is handing me a $100 bill under the table here now. But
There are multiple hundreds on the
There's
way.
been at least a
Multiple
grand
hundreds on the way.
exchange during this conversation.
Why are you massaging his leg? This is weird.
no, we use a lot of MRC equipment, and it's all great. But it's all back to the basics, right? So basic, good protein skimming, good lighting, good water flow. These are the basics of reef keeping. All this other stuff is kind of noise. And I think people just overcomplicate things when in reality, you just need to stick to the basics.
Yeah. So Cooper, you've seen this big coral tank for years and years and years, right? Where is Harder going wrong? What could he be doing better?
No, I mean, I would say he turned it around a lot for what it was. I mean, if you've seen it over the years too, like the last, 5-6 years especially, it's really, really come into its own.
Yeah, and I'll say, it has a long way to go, right? So it looks really, really pretty good right now, but we've all been there where we went to a public aquarium when we saw a poor-looking display, coral display. And we've been disappointed as hobbyists. I'm a hobbyist. My background, I kept aquariums at home. I worked at pet stores, and then I transitioned into the public aquarium field. And honestly, I was pretty disappointed myself when I used to go to public aquariums and see crappy-looking reef tanks that I saw better-looking ones at my neighbor's house. So, I think we've come a long way. I think there's still room to improve with ours. For those out there, though, it is a much different beast to keep a 50-foot by 50-foot aquarium that holds 160,000 gallons. It is
Trying to get lighting down to it.
It's 18 feet deep, and it's a team sport. It's not just a singular person. It's every, when you work at a normal office setting, there's all those complexities that work in the office and trying to get things improved and the workplace dynamics and all those other complexities. We have that in a public aquarium setting. Whereas at a home aquarium, you just need one good aquarist to really have a nice type of reef tank. Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of this. You kind of touched on it, but that's my biggest question with public aquariums is why don't we see more coral tanks, more of that in the public aquarium? I know that the sharks are kind of what drive the views, if you will, but is it just a staffing issue most of the time?
Well, it could be. Keep in mind, it'll take me at least 5 years to create a good reef aquarist, right? Just like it takes someone to go from a beginner hobbyist to an advanced hobbyist, it takes many years.
Yeah.
All right. So, and if our turnover is higher than that, which historically has been because the pay is so low. So, one of our things that our CEO took on was the pay in the industry and made sure that we are paying people adequately so that we keep our aquarists and allow them to grow in this field and have a future in this industry. And that is huge because it takes so long to create these aquariums, you can only automate them so much. There's a huge human side of these things. So you really need to invest in the people, and then from there, we can have these nice systems after that. So I think that's really the biggest challenge. If you're turning over people every year or two, you're not going to have good-looking displays. Yeah. Because it's the people, it's artwork.
How much money are we talking?
So the public aquarium sector is still a sector of passion.
Yeah. Like more than reef builders?
More than reef. Way more than reef.
All right.
Way more. No, I mean, truly is, right? I mean, I've been in this industry for a long time, and you see it over and over again. It doesn't matter what they can do in the private sector. There's just something special about working at a public aquarium. You guys do it for the passion. Now, it's great that Georgia took that first step and said, hey, the pay scale is way off, and brought you guys up to a higher level, but there's still, it's mostly a job of passion, right?
Well, and like the hours that we have to do, like life support, we were there 24/7. We have to work holidays, we have to work weekends.
Jeez.
And we were also dealing with the same thing with pay. But we finally got that corrected, but it's still. We found out that like a lot of our best employees were coming from pet stores and people that had a passion for it. Anytime we tried to hire someone that was like a union plumber, they lasted like a month in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, there's this thing in the hobby that they think there's the hobbyist versus the public aquarist. Many of us are hobbyist and public aquarist, right? So, and many of us, even if we're not current hobbyists, we came from the hobby side of things. So, like for example, myself, I came from having home aquariums and working at pet stores, and now I work in the public aquarium side, but I still maintain aquariums at home. So there's not this huge separation, but yeah, it's that passion, and there's also all these other projects that we work on. I mean, right now we're building out a coral spawning lab.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And doing numerous other things, and that's the kind of things that you can only pay so much to an employee, but you have to kind of inspire them and keep them engaged by having those projects that really mean something. And I think it's a combination of both. But ultimately, though, with the cost of living and these urban areas that public aquariums are located in, you do need to pay them a certain base amount because, passion cannot pay for rent. So.
Don't tell Salem that.
I looked right around. Yeah.
Steve, what is it like on the outside of a public aquarium?
As far as having been there now that I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I was kind of doing a lot of the same things before I started, but now since I've had 14 years at Georgia Aquarium, it allowed me to really grow my skills so that I could do cooler, bigger projects. So it has been fun, though, because I've been able to get other aquariums that want me to come consult and work with them. So I still get to be involved in some of these really cool big projects.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I get a little bit more freedom. Like if I take a job in the Caribbean, I'll just tack on a week on the end of it to just hang out and go diving. Things like that I couldn't do before.
That's really cool.
What do you prefer? Like now that you've kind of had the taste going back and forth, like where does your true passion lie? Do you like it?
I think at some point I'm probably going to want to get back to a public aquarium just because I love the big scale of it. So I'm kind of looking for the next
passion.
Georgia aquarium that opens up, like the next world's largest aquarium. I'll probably end up at that.
Well, then you're going to end up somewhere in the Middle East, right?
There's a possibility.
Wow, yeah.
I've been there before, and I don't want to go back to Saudi Arabia, but I'll go to some other. I'll go back to some other countries.
Dubai.
He loves living
I would go
in a
back to
trailer
Dubai.
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah, they do
I
it
like
big.
dry countries.
That's for sure.
I
That's for
got
sure.
two questions about the tanks. I know we're over time, but you can shove it. So first of all, you said 50 feet deep tank, the coral tank.
No, 50 by 50.
Then he wonders why his pay rate's so low.
What are you doing for lighting? on that?
Reasonable 18 feet.
Okay. I thought it was 50 deep. I was like, oh my god.
You just double up the radions, you're good.
Yeah. What are you doing for lighting?
Just 4 radions, we're good to go.
Wow. Yeah. Ecotech. shout out.
Kessel A80s.
No, we use a mixture. So right now we have 31 1,000 watt metal halides
Okay, let's.
and 35 LEDs, 500 to 800 watt LED.
Cool. Awesome.
Can you
we
say
have
the brand
natural
name of
sunlight
those?
as well.
Wow.
What brand are you using for
We
LED?
use, calling out vendors, we use MaxSpect, and for LEDs, we use
Yeah.
MaxSpect and Kessels right now.
Okay. The big commercial guys?
They're your sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
we're actually looking out. So it's been very challenging for us to get to source metal halide components. Lamps have been very inconsistent and sometimes come with long delays. So we're looking to swap out the entire exhibit over to LEDs, not necessarily because we really want to, but because we're kind of being forced to. The 1,000 watt metal halide industry is kind of born in the sector of sports stadiums and warehouses and things like that. There's no hobby associated with 1,000 watt halides. I know there's a couple of geeks out there that have those 1,000 watts, but really it's mostly the other sectors. So we're being forced to kind of switch to LEDs. So we've actually priced it out. We're looking at about a $500,000 upgrade to switch over to LEDs as early as next year.
That reminds me, I have 1,000 watt halide ballasts if you guys need them. You just got to take them.
You might have 31 extra ones.
No. They're brand. I've got a pallet, at least one pallet of brand new halide stuff. Reflectors, ballasts, all kinds of stuff.
The keyword is bulbs, isn't it?
I don't want to put it in the dumpster, right?
You didn't tell us. You should go to them, but you didn't tell us.
He's told you about this.
I've told everybody about
So
this.
ours are crazy,
I don't want them to go in
You
the
wanna light up your
landfill.
tank
I
with
want them
1,000
to go to
lights?
you. And somebody's going to take, it's an all or nothing deal. Right? So I've been contacted a lot. Like, will you check to see if you have this? No, I'm not checking. Damn. You take the whole thing and you get what you get, then you can pass the rest on to somebody else.
So our lighting system's crazy too, because both the metal halides and the LEDs are synchronized with the light meters. So when it's sunny outside, because we have a skylight over the exhibit, they actually dim down everything. So it helps
that's cool. That's so
minimize the lighting shifts and the seasonality from that exhibit.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
I had one last question. What do you feed the whale sharks?
Each of them get about $80,000 worth of food every year.
Oh my God! Okay.
And they eat a variety of different things, from fish roe to krill to a fish gel that they get.
Yeah, I was really curious about micron size, like how you're making that. So
It's bigger chunks, but it's small in terms of the when you think about a whale shark mouth.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of food, and they're actually trained to go up to the surface and feed off of basically giant spoons that they
That's so cool.
ladle into the mouth of the whale sharks. So
You got ropes across the exhibit. You pull yourself along in a boat. You just kind of like dole it out as you go.
Wait, Rich Ross could have used the boat? Is that what you're saying?
Can Raj use the boat?
Rich Ross could have used the boat?
Rich can't even walk on the side of the exhibit, let alone use a boat. Are you kidding me?
I bet Ben can walk across that water. He's Reef Jesus.
He's been banned from the aquarium.
Yeah. We did send that to his director immediately after we sent him the security footage.
He's independent now, so
Yeah, he did quit the public aquarium scene shortly after.
It may be related. I'm not sure.
Well, the Steves, appreciate you guys. I know that Steve Harder, you are actually speaking. You're going to be talking about that coral tank at the at the Georgia Aquarium, so that's awesome.
I will say that Raj called me out for coral size on a Facebook post.
Hey, guess what? You have coral and Raj doesn't. So
on Reef Builders, I've been hearing about Raj's supposed coral tank.
Oh, you can visit his sump. It's on display
Long
here.
glass. He said he's going to get a 1-gallon tank about 2 podcasts ago.
I'm just saying here. We'll show some pictures of what we got at Georgia tomorrow and what I have at home tomorrow. So.
Love that. Well,
A little size comparison game.
Good thing he's using MRC calcium reactors to grow these beautiful corals.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, joining us at the table right now, Miss Brandy Cam.
Let's go. Hi, you guys.
Brandy, who are you with these days?
What do you mean?
Like,
Wow.
company-wise.
That got personal really quick.
I'm talking about like company
Like, hey,
affiliation,
Brandy, how
my
you
friends.
doing?
She has a husband.
Oh, Jesus.
I know
man.
you do stuff with Pisces.
Yes. So I actually just started full time as their sales and marketing director.
Okay.
Wow. They were desperate, huh?
So you're just Pisces now.
The desperation.
It is really difficult finding
I still
good
do
help.
some stuff with BRS. I have been doing their Facebook group for probably 5-6 years now. So I get to go in and like ban all the terrible people and make sure it's as nice as
So
possible.
that's where you just kind of take it out on people.
Yeah, that's why I'm always so positive.
That's why you're so positive. You get to be an overlord in the BRS group.
So if you've ever been banned from the BRS group,
It's her.
Yeah.
If you're complaining about, a bigger company that's, rhymes with Bapature, it's her. She's the one that blocked you.
Yeah. And I'll do it again.
Brandy said she did not have any gripes about the hobby. So what's a solid?
She has gripes.
Hang on.
Somebody that pretends to be a scientist has to have gripes.
You put me on the spot and nothing came to mind.
What is it? What is a solid positive now? But you cannot say community.
Oh.
I know it's hard because you're a social butterfly.
How about this? A gripe I don't like. Something I don't like is how people forget what it was like when they first started and then get frustrated with people who are trying to find answers when they don't know what they don't know.
I'm an asshole.
Shockingly, I've gotten a lot of those comments lately.
They're all in the comment section below.
Yeah, all right.
Thumbs up for
Very, very
right.
valid response.
I mean,
thumbs up if you agree.
you were right about that, though. I mean, I think it only takes one bad experience for a new hobbyist on social media to just not ask questions anymore.
You know, when I started, I have a strong science background, and I thought I would be totally good with this hobby. And the first coral I bought, I think, was a Recordia mushroom, like the orange mushrooms, right? And I'm so proud because I think I'm getting all these bright colors out of it. You know how it looks when it's bleaching and it's dying.
Yeah.
So I'm posting pictures because I'm proud. Like, I think I've done something well. Like,
Yep.
look at this color. And of course, I start getting bashed. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You're killing the coral. Like, you need to quit. Just take down your tank. And I'm like, whoa, that escalated quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And one person was like, you know what? I still remember his name on Reef to Reef, Jay Downs. I don't think he even is on the community anymore.
Jay Downs,
Thank
better
you.
listen.
No, you know what? He is. He's listening, and
This is your time to speak.
Tear,
to
a
him.
single tear.
just a single
So
tear.
he sent me, like, I guess he had 2 huge tanks and like tons of coral, and he said that he was constantly like cutting them back and stuff, and he has nobody to give them to. He's not near anybody, so he's just tossing them in the trash. He's like, I'm going to send you all of the next batch that I cut, and you can just play around with them and like try and determine like what they're supposed to look like. Because if you don't know what they're supposed to look like, it's really hard to tell at the beginning, and there's so many different coral. And he sent me like 40.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like Montes and mushrooms and like all kinds of stuff. And he just helped me like figure out, all right, this is getting lighter. That's not good. Like, this needs more light. Like, and it helped me a ton. And it just like, that's what really got me stuck into the hobby. I was going to say community, but you said I can't say that.
You can say the community,
You can
but
say
the
it,
community
yeah.
can't be your answer.
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point here, too. And, you know, I don't want to say this is 100% true all the time, but I feel like a lot of times people are commenting in the comment section so that they can show what they know, if that makes sense. It's much
Teacher pets.
It's much more powerful to DM the person, right? And to actually ask them the question. So it's not public. So you're not embarrassing the person because, you know, you're bleaching a coral, but it looks cool as it's dying, Brandy. But yeah, I mean, I think the bigger person will DM that person who's struggling and just ask, like, can I get some more details? You know?
Yeah.
And then it's not it's not 50 people in the comment section, A, saying the same thing, and then B, berating them for, you know, whatever they're doing.
You give them that hand to help.
There's a name for this. It's like Murphy's Law, but it's, you know, it's got a name.
Being a good person?
No. There's a name.
You don't know how to do that, right?
Like,
you,
if you
Sam.
want the right answer to something, you don't ask the question, you post the wrong answer. And then everybody's going to chime in with the right answer. But if you ask the question, all you're going to get is bashed, and you're not actually going to get the right
Raj,
answer.
we've gone from being a good person to manipulating the masses.
You're
But this
asking
is a
it the
real
wrong
thing.
way.
This is a real thing, though, and it sucks. It sucks that that's how it is, right?
It's like an ego thing or something, it sounds like sometimes. for
Ego.
people.
That's a
We
great
get on
word for that.
the psychoanalysis of reefers now.
Well, the psychoanalysis
you know
of
that-
social media users,
Yeah,
I think.
Raj has a background on this.
He does.
I do.
Yeah.
What?
I do, right.
You didn't know?
What?
Shockingly, I actually
That's
went
why I
to
told you I
school and got
can't-
He
educated
doesn't
a little
just
bit.
own
with his
MRC.
No.
His sump is on display. I don't know if you've...
He's selling his stuff.
Wait, what's MRC?
Exactly.
Mr. C?
Mr. C. Mr. So, you know,
That's what it stands for. I see that label on
it's funny
things.
because when people outside of the industry, like, they read the email, they always say, Mr. Comerica? I'm like, yes. That is right. I'm
The
Mr.
vitamin
Comerica.
C.
Tis me.
That is me.
Tis me.
So I guess my full circle question here to you is, how many of those people that have been trying to get help have you just blocked the BRS account?
The ones trying to get help? Like,
Yeah.
no, never. But
What
the people
what
who are.
makes you block?
Do you
someone?
sign off, like, when you answer, do you sign, like, little, here's your answer,
It's Brandy.
Brandy,
with
you
a little
do you
heart?
Well, it's on a Facebook group, so it shows my name.
Oh.
It shows
Okay.
that I'm an admin.
I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
it on your videos with Fan, right? You've broken down some of the papers for like the holo buyout, and you break it down. You explain exactly what's happening, the methods, and the comments are like, she ain't got no idea what she's talking about. she just explained like 16S sequencing and like next generation sequencing perfectly. I'm like, all right, that's a pretty good idea. That's how I got it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of school, but it's interesting that there have been times that you validating me makes me be validated to other people, and it's interesting that I've done
I don't know
20 years
shit.
of school.
That's, you are more educated than me
This
by
undergrad
far.
that I've taught classes to undergrads,
Yeah.
like the classes you've taken.
You've
but
been in
because
school
he
longer
says,
than I've
yeah.
been alive.
And I've got friends in other
Yeah.
industries that have faced a similar type of
Yeah,
thing, you know,
yeah.
where it's email support and they're emailing from their own email account
Yeah.
and the person is not accepting that answer. And then they switch it to an email with a male name and all of a sudden the exact same answer they accept
Yeah.
as, oh, okay.
Well,
That's
you know,
the thing.
I'm used to it. We have a bit of a rivalry also. I went to Georgia Tech, so
I know.
that makes
We
Raj feel
don't
uncomfortable.
hold you. We don't hold that against
Raj
you.
knows that means I'm smarter than him, so that makes him very
She wishes.
uncomfortable.
Where did you graduate from, Raj?
UGA. Back-to-back national champions. You know,
Yeah, Georgia Tech made the Ironman, so you didn't hear the speech?
what?
You're too young.
Nobody,
You're too old,
nobody,
sorry.
nobody
Too
cares
old.
about Georgia Tech.
Yeah, all right.
But
No.
like when I was there, the ratio was 7-1 men to women. So
And you know,
it
it's
was
funny
a
because
similar
when I was in
experience.
Georgia, it was 7-1.
Women to men.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
why there
great
was a
time
lot
to
of
be in
combo
college.
with
Great
the
time.
for you
Yeah.
and for me too. Actually,
We're discussing the sociology of
of Georgia
male
politics.
versus Georgia politics and male versus female here on the Reef Therapy
The,
podcast.
With the college application process, that was an important factor.
Yeah.
to-
it
to
is.
win.
It is. And so you know, something I experienced from. I've always been interested in science and math, and like even in high school, I wanted to take more math classes than I was supposed to,
Nerd.
and they were. I am a nerd. Again, I've told y'all. Raj is very uncomfortable.
He is
with-
gas on this podcast. He is not on the
My
brake.
intelligence makes Raj uncomfortable.
yeah, you-
That's okay.
Yeah, if we're psychoanalyzing here,
Intelligence.
he's
See,
not
the
been
people
this
that are
aggressive
listening,
at all. I
they
think
don't
you're
get to see
completely
the
right. Brandy is validated.
Yeah,
Oh,
but like
God.
in high school, they were like, "Are you sure? Like this isn't going to go well." So like I'm used to that dynamic. So it doesn't really. It's unfortunate, and my research actually looks at how science hobbies impact science identity and how like that culture that's established early on, like kids who are reefing right now, right? Like
Yeah.
they're seeing these behaviors, and it continues on into science careers. And if you look at like the demographics, like there is, except for marine biology, it's interesting that it doesn't match. But for most science careers, the demographics match almost perfectly with what you see as kids in similar hobbies with the matching career. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of
So
sense.
we need to like get the kids in touch with reefing. Like educational outreach is pretty much like would be like.
if
boost
you want to
outcomes.
increase like the number of people who are entering a certain type of career, yeah, like let's say we want to see more women in engineering. We want to make sure that we're inviting women into engineering hobbies as children.
This is like a serious question. Does that look like Legos or like classes? Like
It
like
can
what's
be.
the best like method to achieve that?
There's not
by-
anything that they enjoy, right? Like
Yeah.
like you want to get them to have that hobby, not that they're just playing with it, but it gets to the hobby level. And there's like research on this that shows, I think there's 7 levels that a hobbyist can be at, where like the very first level is like very novice, like what you're talking about. They're just kind of tinkering around, and that's not like really at the level where you start like doing research of what a hobbyist is. It starts like around 2nd, 3rd level. And then when you start getting the higher levels, you kind of kick them out again of being a hobbyist, because it's people like us who are so nerdy that
So
this is now our job.
since Raj doesn't have a
It's a whole
tank,
other level
he's
of
like at
nerd,
the
isn't it?
2nd level. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should. That would be a fun like ranking system in the hobby to have like what stage of the hobby you're at by your name.
How big of a nerd you are.
Yeah,
Like fish
yeah.
nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, I could send y'all some journal articles on
That's-
it.
that's great.
It's actually very well researched.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to read some of that. That's interesting how that like culture plays a role in all of that.
So I think, to close things out, besides Raj confirming why we have a ladies-only podcast tonight, what would you like to see change in the industry?
We're never doing this again.
Fired.
Never again.
Me and Raj are dear friends. It's okay. He's allowed to banter like this with me because we have an understanding. Some of you other people are not. Don't say anything.
Yeah, Kyle on YouTube, who hates Canada.
Yeah, I will block you.
You will be blocked. You will be banned. You will hit the ban hammer. What is something that I'd like to see changed? I just wish that people did a better job of connecting with each other and remembering that, like when you come to these shows, it's easy to remember that we're all people and that we have interests. But when we're all sitting at a computer and we're maybe a little bit more isolated, that we forget that that's a person that has experience and knowledge, and there's a reason.
That's why these shows are so great, right? Because
everybody should come to these shows.
I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to where they come in with a mission that they hate me, right? For whatever reason.
Whatever reason.
It's the photo. It's the photo.
The photo. Holy shit! The amount of flack I got for that damn photo.
The AI
suit?
background.
The suit photo.
That was on. It was.
I love that photo.
Okay, so when I was asked for the photo, they're like, "Do you have a headshot?" I was like, "Yeah, here you go." And I didn't think anything of it. And apparently, I should have thought something of it, and it was not the right pic to use. So I got so much shit for that photo. But people just make up their minds for whatever reason that I don't like that guy. And then,
well, you're great. Paths. Whoever thinks that Raj isn't great, he's absolutely incredible.
It's okay to not like me for, whatever reason. I mean,
if they have a reason, not for a suit. Everybody should wear a suit.
That's okay too. I mean, I don't
more
like
suits.
More suits.
That's what I want to see. That's the change I want. More dress like fan.
More fan.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the change I want.
But the shows and meeting people, like, it makes it real, right? And then you can actually make a true assessment. Do I like that person or do I not? Because they could hear one thing, right? So they could hear the joke, the dumb joke that I cracked with you, and that they don't know our history, that we do mess around like that.
Yeah.
We have that sort of rapport, and obviously if I hated women or thought they were awful,
I wouldn't be on this podcast.
Exactly.
Clarification for Reef Builders purposes, I was not calling Raj a sexist tonight. that was banter between Raj and I.
Clarification
but
noted.
Still, right?
Cited as banter.
Yep, banter.
People at the show, and you get to interact with them, and it's a completely different level. Like,
hearing people's tone is a big deal. Like I've had people when they tell me, like, I sent them an email and they're like I waited to talk to you in person because I was just so offended by this, and I was like, by me?
Yeah.
I said it the way I meant to say it, and they're like, oh, that didn't sound anything like the way I read it, and that happens to people.
Oh, all the time. Right?
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah. So just giving people more grace, I think, would be a good thing to do across the board.
Love
patience. Yeah, I'm not known for my patience, but
I'm sorry.
You can work on it.
Work on it.
Brandy, thank you so much for coming on.
Course.
I love that we can have deep conversations with you that make you think about your existence. So that's fantastic. Thank you. And sexism.
Yeah, we really covered. We went through a lot of it today.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. We've been almost 2 hours, I think, by my count. So
talk for 2 hours?
Yeah, just you. We've talked to a variety of people. I think this is a great idea. I think we should do this at more Salty Shindigs.
I think I know of one more guest we could have on.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh hell
God
no!"
Damn it!
The cameras
I
are out
wanted
of
a
batteries.
beginner hobbyist. We could have talked about what it's like transitioning from freshwater to saltwater for the first time. Okay.
All right, Jimmy.
All right.
Maybe next time.
You know about plants and.
Want to thank you for joining us on this session of Reef Therapy. Still looking for a sponsor, so if you'd like to sponsor Reef Therapy,
call Raj. Hashtag call Raj.
Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, see ya.